Undercover operations. Undercover is concealing one's identity or using an assumed identity to gain the trust of an individual or organization so that you can learn secret information, gain information, intelligence, or evidence against a criminal enterprise. Covert investigations include drug investigations, sting operations, decoy or dangle operations, which is where you put a decoy out and kind of dangle it in front of the bad guy that they will possibly approach you. Prostitution, white collar crime, political corruption, insurance fraud, labor racketeering, organized crime. A lot of investigations are, or a lot of covert investigations can involve an undercover officer. Why use undercover operations? Well, again, the closer you get to the criminal element, the better evidence you're going to have. And the idea of putting in an undercover is to target criminal acts committed by organized crime groups, corrupt individuals who conspire to commit criminal acts. The undercover can gather information that cannot be obtained by any other means or method. Also, to locate well-hidden evidence. To a lot of times in small-time operations with informants, you're only getting the bottom level people. So the undercover operator can move up and get into a higher level and gather more information. Also, the undercover is more credible because they are law enforcement. They also know better what to look for because they're trying to prove a crime rather than an informant. Also, undercover can authenticate the informant's reports in surveillance. Different types of cover. Light cover is to associate directly with a criminal target for a short period of time. This may be just a one-time thing. It would be like an officer in plain clothes working one night in a area known for prostitution, trying to pick up a prostitute to arrest them for solicitation. Or it could be a deep cover, lengthy periods of time with living with criminal targets and associates in order to gain their trust. There's an excellent book written on this. It's called Donnie Brasco by Joe Pistone. Joe Pistone was a special agent with the FBI who spent several years undercover with the organized crime, and it's an excellent book. If you choose to read this, I know some agencies it's required reading for their undercover people. The latest version of it has information that's not in the first book because there were still things under investigation and he was not allowed to disclose those because of continuing prosecution. A key thing is the assignments are extremely dangerous. The officer works without supervision, many times works without surveillance from other officers when they are in a deep cover assignment. You just can't watch them all the time. Some guidelines for using undercover is being aware of the risk of personal injury, property damage, financial loss, reputation, other harms. We're not talking about to the operative, but to the people that are being investigated. Is soon as people find out that they've got an undercover person in there, again, issues of entrapment, things like that are going to come up, civil liability issues, and of course of privacy issues. Another concern with undercover operations is interference with privileged or confidential relationships. Again, the same thing is kind of that we saw with the informant we now have with the undercover. is being aware of certain privileged confidential relationships. As much as we want to disclose those, we're not allowed to. That's just off limits. Government involvement in criminal activity. Just like the informant, the government can authorize a law enforcement to engage in criminal activity, but again, there's some serious legal, ethical questions that must be answered by the prosecutor in order for that to happen. In many occasions, they don't want the government undercover to commit any crimes because, again, that just kind of muddies the water and brings up issues of entrapment, but also it just looks bad. I know on one occasion in an undercover motorcycle group, the undercover FBI agent did not join the group because it required the commission of a crime, and the Department of Justice just would not authorize it. So what they did was the Department of Justice would authorize an undercover police officer to join the group and then become a member of the motorcycle gang. And in order to do that, they had to commit a crime. They had the crime set up. Again, the problem, the concern is about the victim of a crime. So they had the crime set up so there was no true victim. But again, they wanted to maintain the credibility of that FBI agent and did not want him to be allowed to commit any crimes. So he stayed on the outside of the group as kind of a groupie, a wannabe, and he was not privileged to certain things within the organization, but he had gained enough trust that they allowed him to do a lot of stuff anyway.